Andresa, Juan, because I am working with Agustin and Taylor in Interceramic, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
And Andreas, Juan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this webinar.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, your team members that, again, we understand projects come up, customers come first. They'll be able to view this at their, at their leisure. And they should then, the next, so once they view this, when we do the second webinar, second in the series, they should be good to go and also join us on the second one. They shouldn't miss anything.
Okay,
perfect.
thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
So
So Mike, why don't we, we'll just kick this off with Andreas and Juan. And I mean, gentlemen, the goal today is to, over the course of 2, possibly 3 webinars, provide you with the same information and same content and training that you would receive if you flew, if you came up to the United States for our formal PopFlow Bootcamp. And what we found is, because there's fewer numbers, there's just 2 of you, that you can absorb most of this information in the 4, 5, 6 hours that several webinars, 2, 3 webinars will provide, and you would be just as proficient with the product as somebody that did attend the class personally. So Mike is again, I'm going to brag on you, Mike. Mike is an expert on this product, and you'll also find that he's going to make this very interactive for you. He's not going to just come on here and flip a whole bunch of PowerPoint slides. That's not what this is about. This is what we call an immersion into the technology, so there will be a lot of hands-on on your side as well. So with that, Mike, I'm going to pass the baton over to you, sir, and let you do your magic.
Good deal. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is flip through a bunch of PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
But it's not death by PowerPoint. There's a big difference.
all of 3.
Yeah.
So let me know when you guys see my screen.
Just give me 1 second. I am extracting the files that Mike sent us.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
We are, just give me 1 second and we will be ready.
No worries. Take your time. As a matter of fact, Juan Andres, the one of those files, the PopFlow Cert training class or training files.zip,
Okay.
is the first one that I'll point you to. The presentation that I'm going to dig into here.
Oh, okay.
That was actually not on there. Let me see.
PopFlow Cert training files, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Let me give you a quick tour through that. As a matter of fact, we'll just start there so that you see through, so that you see what's in those 2 files. The first one is just some training material that we provide as a part of the class. So you've got things like, our normal agenda. You don't have to worry too much about that agenda. We'll take things at a different pace, doing this over the web port, the web meeting. But there are some good pieces of information in there, like some diagrams that we'll talk through as a part of this process. The installation and licensing guide, which we'll get into today, actually. If we do this well, you guys will be able to deploy this real time today into, one of your instances. An operations guide, which is just our user manual for PopFlow. And then a reference for some of the functionalities, for some of the functionality within PopFlow. We'll get into that a little bit later. So those, and then the other zip file, when you extract that, it will actually contain, it actually contains the, what we call our installation bundle or our licensing bundle that allows you to install PopFlow, right? not only into your own environment, but into other customers' environments, if you like, as well. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But to kind of kick things off a bit, you guys are seeing my screen now?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So what I'm just going to give a bit of an introduction into PopFlow so that you kind of understand. I think it's important for users of the product, anybody that would be installing it, supporting it, selling it, to kind of know behind the scenes, what is the value proposition of PopFlow, what are we selling and why. We have a couple of slides dedicated to that in our broader sales deck. What I'll send you guys, and you can feel free to use it as you like, is the full sales deck, which not only contains PopFlow, but also Harmony, which is another product that we sell that I think you guys are familiar with, right?
We know it.
Yep. Yep. So we'll see that as well, but mainly for the focus of today and as it relates to PopFlow, the key, of course, I've got it in presentation mode. Bear with me just a second here. You may see some flickering. Now, you should be looking at just mainly a white screen with a PopFlow Studio at the bottom in black. Are you seeing that now?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, yeah.
Well, I can't
We are
get
now
anything on.
the presentation. It's
perfect. Okay, great. So when it comes to PopFlow, just to kind of set the stage a little bit for the remainder of the day, when it comes to PopFlow, what we're doing with PopFlow is trying to change the way people create and manage screen pops, right? Obviously, the old way of doing that, you guys are familiar with, I know. It basically involved a development effort, right? If somebody wanted screen pops, they would usually define their requirements to some technical people. Those requirements get passed over to some CTI developers who would write some code and place some test calls. They'd do different things like that, right? They'd get the screen pop working after they wrote code. They'd test it out. They might demonstrate those to the users. The users may want changes. You'd go back through that process, identifying different use cases until at some point you finally got a screen pop created that you could roll out. And then that usually involved some kind of custom code being deployed at each workstation to make the screen pop work. So in creating PopFlow, we basically try to roll all of that into an administrative function within Service Cloud, meaning let's create a tool. We created a tool that your typical Service Cloud administrator could use to create, test, and deploy PopFlow natively within Service Cloud without having to do any kind of custom development or coding. And that's really what PopFlow is. One other thing, let's see, sorry, I jumped out of that too quickly. Oh, I hate painting screens. 10 more minutes and it'll be up. There we go. So some of the core features that you'll see, and we'll get into it and talk about it a little bit, but basically it is that drag and drop functionality to complete sophisticated screen pops. In other words, I no longer have to be a developer to create some pretty sophisticated screen pops. Obviously, the plug-and-play integration with other contact center applications. Now, what we mean by that is we not only make it easy to create these screen pops, but we try to make it easy to integrate to applications that you need to use to drive the screen pops, whether that's your ACD or PBX, for example. So sending us an integration that sends us data that lets us know what call is coming in and what, and any information associated to it, right? It is the data that triggers the screen pop, and we make those we've tried to make it easy to integrate to those other applications so that you can trigger screen pops and receive the information about the interactions that are coming in, make that whole process simple. And then to be able to create reusable flows. In other words, once you create a screen pop, you could potentially export it and from one instance of Service Cloud and import it into another instance of Service Cloud. So, you know, from an SI perspective, you guys over time might generate a library, if you will, of sophisticated screen pops. When you find that one customer's requirements, screen pop requirements, are similar to another, you don't have to rewrite those screen pops from scratch. You can just import them from your library of screen pops, right?
Okay.
But obviously, all of these things are really centered around providing a solution that's easily deployed. You know, they can be rapidly deployed without a lot of expense, and to give the administrators the ability to have control over that whole process, right? So that you know, customers don't have to engage IT or developer resources to create screen pops. Same thing goes, you know, for you guys. Even if customers, you know, sometimes as an SI, you guys may come across a customer that's not interested in creating their own screen pops. They want you to do it for them. But this just PopFlow makes it easier for you to create those screen pops so that you can have a quicker deployment solution, hopefully a more profitable solution for your customers. And not only automating that workflow integration, but also the testing and deployment surrounding it, which we'll talk about as well.
I have a question. This
Please.
is like it's like when you create a workflow in campaigns in Oracle Service Cloud?
Mm-hmm. Very much. Very much like it. As a matter of fact, let's just drive right to that. And you guys, please keep asking questions as we go, right? We can keep, with so few people, we can keep this conversational. So don't hesitate to interrupt me while I'm chatting.
Okay, perfect.
So for example, you know, you compare it to creating a workflow within Service Cloud. It looks different. We have a different user interface for doing that, but it is very much the same kind of process. So here I just launched PopFlow Studio, and within PopFlow I can create as many different interaction workflows. By the way, interaction workflows are what we call screen pops. So these are just different screen pops. I can create as many different, and when I get ready to create it, well, I'll just create a new one here to show you an example.
Okay.
I'll create one called training demo. I can open up that interaction workflow, and I'm just given a blank design canvas then on the right that I can drag and drop these reusable activities onto to create whatever screen pop logic I like. So for example, I'm going to say when a call comes in, do a lookup in Service Cloud's contact database to see if we can find, figure out who this is that's calling, right? And I'm going to do that based on maybe their caller ID. So I can say things like, go look in this specific field or fields, right? Go look in the phone number fields for a match on caller ID, Annie. Look at their Annie or their caller ID.
Yeah.
Take that telephone number, look in the contact table and see if you find any matching contact records.
Yeah.
And then when we do that lookup, one of three things is going to happen. I'm either going to have, I'm going to find one matching contact record, or I'm going to find a bunch of contact records that have that caller ID associated to them, or I'm going to find no matching records. And I can just keep dragging and dropping and tell the system what I want it to do in each of those cases. So I can say things like, well, if you do a lookup of the caller ID and you don't find a contact record in Service Cloud, let's automatically create one for the agent. Let's create a contact. And let's take whatever information we know about that call and dump it into the contact record so the agent doesn't have to do it. Like we know their caller ID or the ANI. Let's put that into the office phone field. So in this regard, when that happens, the agent doesn't have to start that new process. They don't have to go searching for the customer. We've already done that. They don't have to create a new contact. We've already done that. And they don't have to type the phone number into the phone number field. We've already done that. And we do, right?
I see.
Right. And then we just continue on in that vein, right? What do you want to happen when you find a matching contact record? You may want to do something as simple as just, you know, open the contact record. If you find a contact, one contact, pop the contact. You might want to take that a step further and say, when you find a contact, let's automatically create a new incident for this call, right? And let's automatically associate the contact that we found to that incident. Sorry.
No problem.
Now we'll go through these. We will be going through, as a part of the training, all of these different activities. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of an overview for now so that you kind of get an idea of what PopFlow does. And by the way, I just continue on, right? I can do all sorts of things like run reports. So if we find multiple matching contact records, I've got that we can pass filter criteria to.
I have a question here.
Excuse me. Yeah?
In this case, if you call a report, right, you have to create I'm assuming that you have to create the filters to match the values that you're passing in PopFlow?
You got it. That's exactly right. In this case, I just know, like, I've got a report that I had already created.
Yeah.
But that's exactly right. If I go to here, I've got a report that I created called PopFlow Multi-Match Contacts 100-431 is the idea of that. And if I look at the definition, you can see that I've defined a filter called AnyPhone.
Yeah.
That I reference contacts.anyphone. So I just pop that into my criteria, my filter criteria. You got it.
And what happens if you don't have the filter? PopFlow is still the message, or it will just happen? Yeah.
Yeah. If you just, as long as you have a report ID identified there, it'll run that report, whether you want to pass it any filters or not. If you don't have a filter, it'll still run the report, giving them the ability, you know, depending on how the report's built. You may want it to pop up, you know, your search criteria that the agent can enter into, and we can paste the criteria into that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a question. When you put the match criteria options in phone numbers, you can use any kind of field there. Can I use a
notice? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so if you noticed what we're doing, we're actually, when you click a drop-down menu, we're actually accessing all the fields associated to that entity or that object. In other words, in this case, it was a contact table. So we drop down for the field name, it says, give me the entire list of contact fields, and that's out of the, that's out of the box standard fields, custom fields. Here's some custom fields, custom objects, custom attributes, right?
That
Literally
was
anything.
So you can use a field from a custom object that's associated with the contact in this case?
That's correct. Yep.
Oh,
yep,
perfect.
That's right. And same thing for these objects, right? Like if you've created custom objects, meaning, you know, actually I've got one right here. Right, you can see these bill account statement status. These are custom, custom objects within Service Cloud. Yep. So we can,
okay.
if it's in Service Cloud, then you can use it as a part of the screen pop. Now, having said that, once you've created some, and this is just a very simple one, guys, but once you've gone through that and you've created the screen pop, you can also test it out here within Service Cloud. So, for example, I can execute this screen pop, and I can recreate phone conversations in this case, right? I want to tell it I want to create a voice interaction with this Annie. So I can say +1 513 324 0561, right? My telephone number. And if there was any other attached data that we would expect to see, like a DNS or any kind of information from the IVR that we might be getting as a good example, right? You can essentially emulate a call coming into Service Cloud that PopFlow sees, and you can see real time what it will do, right? So in this case, I told it, if you find a match, automatically create a new incident. Here's a new incident, right? We associate the found contact to that incident. So that's what it did.
Perfect.
And we'll get in more in how we'll get quite a lot more into quite a lot more detail about how this stuff works. Again, I just wanted to give you an idea of what it was like to create a screen pop, test it out. Oh, and I just realized too, I didn't show you from a deployment perspective, when you get ready to roll out this new training demo screen pop, I can do that right here from within PopFlow as well. So I go to mapping, and I can see all of the different profiles within Service Cloud. So these are all of my Service Cloud profiles. And I can assign different screen pops to those profiles. So for example, if I want my retail agents using that new training demo screen pop, I just click that, I hit save, and now that's been rolled out to those agents, and they'll go to getting those screen pops.
This is like when you put workspaces to different profiles?
That's exactly right. That's right. That's right. You're just defining for each profile what screen pop you want that profile to be using. Right?
Okay. Right.
So, having said that, what I kind of had planned, that was kind of just a brief intro to PopFlow. Both from a sales perspective, a little bit from a sales perspective, a little bit from a user perspective. What is the end goal to use, to get PopFlow installed and deployed? So what I was hoping we could do for the remainder of the time is actually walk you guys through the process for deploying PopFlow. So if you, do you guys have administrator access into a demo instance or something of that nature that you would like to deploy, where you'd like to deploy PopFlow?
Well, for that we need, what do we need? We don't have any demo instance with PopFlow, or I don't know. What do we need to accomplish that? Just an average right now Oracle's.
That's it. You just need administrative access into a Service Cloud instance, and we can deploy it to any instance you like.
Yeah. Okay, just give me then 1 second.
Okay.
We actually have one here from one of our clients. It's an TST instance. Can we still use it?
Sure, sure. If they don't mind you deploying PopFlow, we don't either. So
that's perfect.
The instance, just keep in mind that the instance that we deploy it to, we'll be licensing it for a demo instance, right? I'll be licensing it for a demo instance, so it's not really a production install. But
perfect.
So if you look, sorry.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I have to do something. Okay. Just 1 little second. ¿Este era mío? Sí, no, ningún problema. Okay. Sí, pero es eso. Además de ese no tenía problema en ese sentido. Genial. Hi, we are here now again.
All right.
So that's it. We have a little problem here.
Okay.
In what it seems an update for this instance.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me do this for you.
Sure.
Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about doing, because this could be something that if you want, you guys can try to do on your own, and then we can reconnect if you need to, or whatever. I'll leave it up to you guys, and we'll do whatever works best for you guys. At the end of the day, what we're going to do to deploy it in the PopFlow cert training files zip, there's an installation and licensing guide. And that that installation and licensing guide walks you through step by step installing PopFlow. And it's a matter, it's a pretty simple thing to do. It's just importing some custom objects and then uploading, I skipped one, where is it? Uploading add-ins through the add-in manager. And then creating some custom workspaces. Sorry. Creating some custom workspaces. And then, doing some basic profile configuration. So obviously you've got to have access to profile configuration. Creating some basic reports. Now, what those reports and workspaces do, those are actually part of our licensing scheme. So we actually have a license workspace that allows me to create a specific license for a specific instance of Service Cloud. So, for example, if you wanted to create or to Disney's website or to Disney's instance, I could create a license specifically for Disney for that instance, and you could use that workspace, these reports in those workspaces to license for that instance.
I see.
And then and that requires you to basically get a license from open methods, right? I can generate those licenses for you, in other words, and those licenses are literally just specific text with a unique serial number that activates PopFlow for a specific instance. So I would send you a text file that contains that license. You would put it into the right place inside the workspace. That's what this walks you through doing, right? And once you do that, then essentially you just turn on PopFlow. You add the PopFlow icon to your navigation set, like I had it here. Right? I just put the PopFlow icon in my navigation set. And then importing and creating some basic workflows that you can use to make sure that it's installed properly, etc. And we literally walk you through that entire process, validation, making sure that it's got. So if you're not able to do it on the phone while we wait, that's not a big deal. We can, you've got everything that you need. Basically, those instructions even call out different steps. Like if you notice, let me give you an example here. I'll get there in a second. Here we go. Nope, that one won't work either. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Step 2, install the add-ins, right? If you look at that PopFlow licensing bundle that I sent, inside that zip file, you'll see that the folders inside are labeled Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. So I know when I go to Step 2, install the add-ins, well, I go to Step 2 here, and there are all the add-ins that I need to upload. Right? We finish that step. You go to Step 3. It says create the workspaces, and it tells you to import the workspaces. Here's Step 3, and there are the workspaces that I need to import. right? So the instructions are very much linked to the installation bundle, right? So you can kind of follow along and make sure that everything, you've got all the files that you need, anything that you need for a particular step in the documentation in the folder that's labeled appropriately for that step. Right, and then there's some extra stuff that I put in there for later. These call emulation links are actually things that we'll use later when we talk about demonstrating PopFlow for other customers.
Ah, I see.
So if you guys...
we have our console ready.
Sorry, say again?
I have our instance is ready.
Yeah, it is ready. All right, awesome. Well, in that case, why don't you let me make you presenter?
Okay.
And what I'd like for you to do is just what we walked through, right? Like Tom said, we like to make these things hands-on, and we'll get it deployed, and I'll license it for you, and we'll make sure that PopFlow is running. This will be your first official PopFlow installation.
Okay, perfect.
So let's see. So am I making, who am I going to make presenter, Juan or Andres?
Juan.
All right. Coming at you, Juan.
Okay.
Now you may have, it may prompt you to install a plug.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I installed it. Just wait a sec. Okay.
Pásale la... Sí, pásale eso.
Okay. So this is our console.
Perfect. Got it. Yep.
So the first step, it says here, it's just a second. Step 1, right?
You got it. Import. That's right. Import the custom objects.
Okay. So we start with configuration. Object designer, right?
That's right. Yep. Oh, you guys are going to test me out, make me read Spanish.
Yeah.
I have trouble with English, by the way.
Okay.
Well played, sir. Well played. You do better in English than I do in Spanish. I promise.
Really? No, it isn't that difficult. Yes. So, step 1.
Yep.
Question. You can see what I'm doing now? Can you see what
Yep.
I'm doing now? Yeah?
I can. You're in the right spot.
Okay.
So here you just want to go to import, because you're going to import the custom objects. And yep.
Okay, so downloads. Yes.
You'll want to browse out to. You want to go to the this in the licensing bundle, and in there you will find one set of. You'll find a zip file.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be sure to select zip of the custom objects. You can just select OK and next, and it should. Now I can't see your pop-up window, Juan, but it should ask you to just import it. You want to just keep taking the defaults until it says OK.
Yes. Yes. Give me a sec. I will share the whole screen.
Okay, that's okay. Well, either way.
Okay. So, can you see now what I'm doing?
Yes, sir. I can see your whole screen now. Yep. So you just want to just keep doing. There you go. Just keep doing accept. Yep.
Okay.
and you can, that's all good. You can just keep going through until you get all the way through to a prompt. You can accept that, yeah.
Now
And then you'll want to, yeah, now this, what that did, that just saved it, or it just imported those two objects. So you want to save it and then deploy it.
Sure.
But you have to save it before you deploy it. Yep.
You know. So now,
And again, these,
right?
Yep, that's right. And obviously, we'll want to deploy it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, give me a sec here. Okay.
There you go. And yeah. And while that's working, we can go ahead and import the custom objects, or I'm sorry, we can install the add-ins in step 2 if a minute or two.
Yeah.
So if you go into, configuration settings, add-in manager, yeah, you got it.
I see. Add-in manager. So here we are.
Perfect. And then you just want to, do new and walk through and take each one of those. You want to be in step 2. Yeah, you got it. And you want to, but you'll have to change your, there you go. Those are the 4 that we're going to bring in. Yep, you got it. You want to take each one of them and install each one of them.
Okay, now I have to save in new?
Well, you can just keep doing new until you get them all in, and then when you save it, it'll put all of them up there at once if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, but you've got the right idea.
This is the 4th one.
Perfect. Now you can save those. And then we wait.
Okay.
Not much we can do now except wait until those custom objects get deployed. So once they're done, then we can go on to step 3. Hopefully they won't take long.
But then you have to give it to the audience and what's happening in this?
Yeah, and if you know what profile you're logged in as right now, the TGR admin 1, you could go ahead and assign those to that profile, the add-ins to the profile if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do.
Yep.
Deploy finisher.
Oh.
Ready.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well,
ready?
we're done now anyway, so that's good. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. So now.
Well, that's okay. Sorry.
Sorry. Now, what will be the next step? Step 3, right?
Let's see. Yep. Step 3 is to import the new workspaces, create new workspaces. So you're going to go to your workspace workflow. Yeah. There you go. Now, a little tip here. What I normally do, I will normally create an open methods directory just to house our specific workspaces because they are unique to us, but you can put them wherever you like. Perfect. Yep, and then you just want to do new workspace.
Okay. Import, right?
Yeah, you got it. And then just locate the step 3 directory and Now here's a little pro tip for you. Before you go ahead and select it there, but to help with the naming, if you just click it once, and then if you go down into the name field, nombre, and highlight that, or that'll work too. You want to copy that name out. So they have to be named exactly how they're named here, right? So if you copied that, when you finish importing it, and yeah, perfect. Then when you finish importing it and we go to save it, you'll have the name you can just paste in there. And we're going to do that again. So here it's just associating these workspaces to the appropriate custom objects that we just imported.
Okay. Perfect. Do I keep the?
Yep. Just keep going and accept it and tell it to finish. Let it finish importing. And then once it comes up,
I save it with the name of the.
You just save it with that name in that directory. You got it.
Okay. So it will be this one, right?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's perfect. And you can close that and then do the same for that other workspace as well.
Perfect. Yes. License workspace. Yes.
And I'll apologize for all of the English. We are in the process of providing true internationalization. So in Q3 to Spanish. So.
Okay. Now, we have this and save. Read this thing.
Perfecto.
So, step 3 will be ready, right?
That's it. You're all set there. So step 4 then is to do very much the same thing with some custom reports.
Mike?
Yeah.
Can you give me a second? You have to put the charger.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No worries.
Okay. Okay. Now we are ready.
Okay. So normally, guys, if you look, step 4 says to configure the profile. I like to do them in a different order because configuring the profile, you have to restart Service Cloud after you configure the profile. So I would say let's skip step 4 and go straight to step 5.
Sure.
And let's import the custom reports next. So you just want to go into your Reports Explorer and do very much the same thing for the reports that you just did for the workspaces, importing each report in and naming it appropriately. So here you can, again, create whatever directory you want. And again, these reports, any of this stuff, the reports and everything, can go wherever you want them to go. They don't have to be in a specific directory anywhere, just as long as you know where to find them.
Yeah. Okay, so let's import the file, right?
That's correct. And you want to do the exact same thing you did for the workspaces, right? You want to copy out the name and import them and save them.
Perfect. Report 1 already. Mm, okay,
One more.
yeah.
Isn't it fun?
Mhm. So we are almost ready. And
Close.
okay. Yeah. So we're ready.
Excellent. Okay, so now we'll go back um, up to step 5 or step 4,
Okay.
and we'll modify the profile that you want to turn PopFlow on,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll make some modifications to the profile, and I need to then generate a license for you.
Sure. Well, we have a little. This instance isn't so
Okay.
custom, so
Yep. Sounds
quick.
good.
So.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
and the instructions do walk you through this, but the first thing we need to do is associate the two workspaces that we created. So you'll see one in there called Interaction Workflow right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you'll just want to associate that, the interaction workflow that we created. Yeah.
Right.
And then the same thing for the license right underneath it. Yeah.
Okay. License workspace.
Got that? Perfect. And then if you head back up to the top, you'll want to
Mm-hmm.
enable the add-ins. If you go to add-ins, down on the tab just to the right of the workspaces and workflows tab, so down inside the profile.
Oh,
You were in
sorry.
the right. You were in the right space, right there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and then
All
well, you don't want to do. You don't want to do the development mode. I'm not going to try to say that in Spanish, but those, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
okay, so
you can enable all of them for it. Now, to this point, when you're enabling an administrative profile that you want to give access to the designer, in other words, you want to give an administrator access to the designer, that if you look at the add-ins that you have there, the designer is the designer, right? That's the PopFlow Studio that I was showing you earlier. The last one, the interaction handler right now, is the agent part of that actually does the screen popping.
I see. Okay.
Right? And then the listeners, you see the other two end in listeners, like listeners.http and executable listener. Those are the add-ins that receive the incoming data so that PopFlow knows what to pop. So for example, it has a listener that listens for the caller ID and passes it over to the interaction handler, the runtime, so that the runtime knows what to screen pop.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now what that means is that for an agent, if I were just turning this on for an agent profile, I would only activate the Open Methods interaction handler right now and one of those listeners typically. I wouldn't give them designer access, right? But for an administrator, we're just going to turn them all on, and then that way you can not only design the screen pops, but you can run them and test them and actually make them screen pop all in one shot, right? So for an administrator, we do all of them. For an agent, we would just do right now, the interaction handler right now, and the designer, typically. Okay, so that looks good. And then if you go up to permissions, permisos.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, and a couple of things in the instructions call this out, but I would take special note. You see the API SOAP, public SOAP API section,
Yeah.
where you got session authentication on the right. Yep. PopFlow uses session authentication, so if that is not checked, PopFlow will not work.
So,
in other words, you want to make sure that session authentication is checked always, and you're set. That looks good. So if you click on custom objects, the top right tab,
okay.
Then you want to grant access to all of the open methods objects. Perfect. Perfect. And yeah, you just do yes there, obviously. And then you're good. And you can, yes.
Here in the session authentication, the agents, the operators of the contact center will have to, do they have to have active this option?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, all people that use somehow PopFlow will have to have this, right?
That's correct. That's right.
Okay.
All users of PopFlow. Now, on the custom objects, though, and you bring up a good point, on the custom objects here, the administrators, we typically give full access to those custom objects, right? But the operators or the agents, you wouldn't necessarily give them full access. You may give them read-write access, but not delete. And I don't know. Right. You wouldn't want to give them delete access, but how do you say that? How do you say that in Spanish?
Suprimir.
Suprimir. Okay.
Yeah. Suprimir.
Give it a shot. All right. So yeah, you can. But for now, because we're on an administrative profile, I would leave that checked. Right? So that's perfect. Now let me generate a license file for you, because that's the next thing. So the next thing that you want to do in the instructions in step 6, brings us to step 6, is to obtain a license and assign it, right? So I'm going to create the license. Basically what it's going to have you do is go into your Reports Explorer and run the PopFlow license search report.
This one, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right. And if you want to go ahead and run that, you can, I'll show you, I'll try to multitask a little bit here and create your license at the same time.
Okay. The server.
Yeah, if you just double click on it to launch it, it'll come up and it'll ask you to fill in a search box. You can just click search. Yeah, so just click, Buscar.
Okay.
And then if you go to new, up in the ribbon, yep.
License.
And then you select license, that's right.
Okay.
Now, in the license box is where you're going to copy and paste the license file that I send you, and then under product name, you just want to type PopFlow in there. So you can go ahead and put PopFlow in it. It's capital P, O-P, capital F, no spaces. Yeah, there you go, perfect. And bear with me. Now, as a matter of fact, I'll let you watch what I'm doing on this side. I'm going to take presenter rights away from you, and you can watch me create the license just so you guys know what it looks like. So, let's see, bear with me just a second. Let me think. We need let me get your email out of here real quickly. I think I've got it here. Juan, are we going to make you the contact for this one, I'm assuming? For this license? Let's see.
So that's license.
So what we're doing here, this is just the name, the name of the instance or the name of the customer. And what was the customer name here? Where you just deployed it?
This instance is Tesorería.
Can you spell it for me?
Just a sec. Let me give you. I'll send it in the chat.
Okay. And we actually need the instance name as well. Okay, that's perfect, perfect, perfect. So
that one is the instance name. What else do you need?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Do that. T-S-O-R-E-R-I-A.
Yeah, that's right.
The instance name. And that's just one underscore like that,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Not two. Just one underscore. Okay, now we just need to know who you want to license.
Wait, it's with two underscores.
Oh, it is two underscores. Okay.
Yeah. It will be something like
that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Got it. Okay, now the way that we license PopFlow so that you can get into the designer, we do that by login name or user, Service Cloud user ID would be another way to say that.
Okay.
So you were just logged in as, what was it, CTI admin? Or something like that? What was the login name?
It was PGR admin.
Okay. Text it. TGR admin, all right. And that is what you're using here for your username, right?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So TGR admin. Anyone else you want to turn on that side, or just that one?
Maybe we should create another one. Can you create TGR admin too?
Sure. By the way, the license doesn't validate these. So as long as the name matches, like you could create TGR admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you wanted to do, right? So we can just do it like that. They don't. The accounts don't have to exist when you create the accounts. It will automatically show up there. And then the expiration date is what we normally set, and for these we'll do. Let's see, what is it, June 8th, 7/8, 2017, and we'll call this one. And then I will gen a file off of that.
Okay.
Where did my stuff go? Make sure that it looks good. So here's what I'm about to send you. This is this text file, and basically what you're going to do is just select all of it, copy it, and paste it into that workspace, into the license box of that workspace. And it looks like a good file. So, I should have kept that email open.
Okay.
Let's do it like this. It's that CL, isn't it? I think I missed a lot. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Now let's see. I can't see what I'm doing. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll get
No
there
problem.
eventually.
Don't worry.
All right. Coming your way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll
Okay.
turn presenter back over to you, Juan.
Sure.
You can finish it out. We're getting close now.
Okay, this is the, I have the license here.
Yep, so you just want to highlight everything in there and just copy and paste it, and just copy that and then paste it into
Here,
the
right?
license box. You got it. And then you can
Okay.
save that. Yeah, save and close that. And there's your license.
Great.
So now if we did everything right, you can log out of Service Cloud, log back in,
Mm-hmm.
and all we have left to do is to associate that or add that icon to your navigation set, and we'll be ready to play with PopFlow.
Great. So now, TST1, right?
Yes. That looks like
the production one. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second. I'm not sure which one is it. They have the same name. Okay.
Oh, there you had it.
It was easier this way.
That'll work better.
Well, still have the tesoreria name in the interface.
Well, that's okay. That could be the way you have it, have the
Yeah.
interface named, right? As long as it's still associated to the test underscore or underscore test one.
I'm guessing this is, just wait a second. Classify. This. ¿Ahora? Es solo uno. No te digo.
Hace la grabación al otro lado, la integración de... Sí, eso es la verdad. Eso es verdad.
Okay, so we are now in, yeah, this is the TST
Yeah,
one.
good. Yeah, that's fine. So what you want to do is edit your navigation set, or if you want to, you can just customize it if you've got that enabled. Here it looks like you'll have to, actually add it to your navigation set.
Yeah, I will have, I will edit.
Yeah. And
So,
that's going to show up whenever you select now it won't show up under the new elements, but when you select like one of your, then under components you should have, it'll be under component. Yeah, under add-ins right there. Well, let's see, where'd it go? There you go. I've got to learn these these terms in Spanish, right? Not add-in.
Equals complementos?
Complementos. Exactly. Different.
Yeah. Quite different. So, save and close?
Yes, please.
Okay. And here we have Open Methods PopFlow Studio. Should I run it?
And you should be able to just double click it and run it if hey Juan, only if you installed it properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we have a licensing issue. Oh, you know what I did? Juan, I licensed it wrong. I bet. I just did TGR admin. I bet you're logged in right now as TGR admin 1. So that's okay. This is a good learning experience actually. If you look at your ribbon, you see how you just have 3 icons up there? You've got save, workflows, and mapping.
Yeah.
When it's licensed properly for an administrator, you'll also have new, save, import, export, right? You'll have more icons on your ribbon. So you installed it properly. I didn't license it properly. So do me a favor, check your staff account. Are you logged in as TGR admin 1?
Yeah.
Or just
TGR
admin
1.
That was my mistake. I just licensed TGR admin.
Yes, but if I change the username, will it work?
Well, it would, or I can just relicense. I can send you a new license file real quick if you like.
As you
But
wish.
if you change the name, it will work.
So it will be better if I just change it. Just give me a second.
Okay. Either way, that's your call. I don't mind creating a new license for you if you like. But that will fix it as well. And obviously, you'll have to log out of Service Cloud and log back in before it will work. But
yeah, just a second.
Yeah, you're okay.
Porque la licenciación de TGR Admin y TGR Admin 2. Claro, y este se llama TGR Admin 1. Sí, de hecho fue vendida, me apareció, yo dije TGR Admin 1. Sí. Sorry, that was my mistake. I said, looks.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries at all.
No, igual fue bueno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good because we learned something new. Okay, so now I'm loading and it will be right in just 1 second. No, eso estamos usando la construcción empieza esta semana, empezar antes, el proyecto TGR, sí. Hay mucha energía, el proyecto antes está activadísimo. So, here we are. Okay, yeah, now I see all the options. New, delete, import, export. Mike?
Yep, perfect. Sorry about that. So here, what I did, I created just some basic interaction workflows that you can import. So if you want to import those now, they're also in that PopFlow licensing bundle. So yeah, you can just do import, find them in the licensing bundle.
Which
Step
one?
8.
The step 8?
Yep, that's right. Step 8. Oh, you know what? I didn't include them in there. Okay, so for the class, yeah, that's okay. You know what it is? For the class, I don't include those because I make people create the new ones themselves. So, and I forgot. No cheating for you guys either, so you can cancel out of that. What we want to do is create a new one.
Yeah, so new, right?
Right. And you can name it whatever you want to name it.
Good work.
Perfect. And then if you double click on it over on the left hand side,
Where? Sorry?
On the left-hand side under interaction workflows, you just double-click on that. It'll open it up so you can edit it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Shall I save it before? Or, no, it wasn't necessary.
No, you don't. You can, but it's not required.
Perfect. So, this is the how shall we start? Activities. Shall we start with and
So let's do this. Let's recreate what I created for you guys. So the retrieve entity at the very top.
sure, here, right?
Yep. You can just drag that out. And you'll notice the little arrows, the little triangles that point down. Those indicate where you can drop an activity. And some activities can be dropped within or inside other activities. And PopFlow is smart enough not to let you drop an activity where it doesn't belong. So if you try to drag an activity on the left out into the designer and it doesn't show up, it's because you're not allowed to drop that activity where you tried to drop it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Good.
So here, if you just, like, we'll have it do a contact lookup. So let's just do, from the drop down, you can do contact. Tell it we want to look up in the contact table. And if you edit your criteria, then you can select, let's do, how about phones.number?
Sure.
So in other words, look through the phone number fields. So it'll be phones.number. There you go. Yep. Equal. Yep. Now, and for value source, let me explain a little bit here what we mean by value source.
Sure.
So when we get an incoming call, there's going to be some attached call data with that call. Things like Annie, Dinas, things of that nature.
Yeah. Right.
Two of those, there are two values, those that I just mentioned, the Annie and the Dinas, that are reserved for PopFlow, meaning you can never have anything called Annie and Dinas in PopFlow except for the true Annie and Dinas associated to those calls. So those are in the interaction source. Interaction data is anything else. So like if we're getting information, other attached call data from the IVR or from some other application, those key value pairs will show up under the interaction data source.
Perfect.
And then interaction variable is just that. PopFlow allows you to define variables. So for example, some people use variables as a shortcut, like instead of having to type contacts.any under phone, I can set an interaction variable that just lets me say phones equal contacts.any under phone, and then anywhere I type phones, it will insert that variable, right? So I can define variables, or I can define static values equal 12 or whatever. But you have to point PopFlow in the right direction to use whatever value source you want. So if we want to look for Annie or Dinas, that's in the interaction set. You got it. So if you click on that, then when you go to the value, that'll be a drop-down list. And you can select Annie. Now, if you had selected the interaction data value source, you'd be able to type anything you wanted to in that value. So I can say things like, you see what I mean there, and then I could type, IVR underscore order number. That's the order number that they entered in the IVR or whatever. I'm just making that up, but hopefully.
Yeah, I know. Actually, there's one IVR variable that will be very common here in Chile, and is that's the unique number that each citizen in Chile has. And each IVR in Chile will ask to any person for that value. So this will be really common here.
Okay, there you go, and that's how you would access it, right? That is assuming that we're receiving that data from the IVR, and that RUT or RUT is the key value pair's name, right? In other words, what we're getting from into PopFlow are just key value pairs. The key name of RUT would let you access whatever data is in there.
Perfect.
Cool. So if you want to switch that back around, set the value source to interaction and the value to Annie.
Perfect. Here we are. And, okay, right?
You got it. That's right. And then we just tell it what we want to do in each of those scenarios. So, for example, in no match, we can have it create. We can have it create an entity. So if you look on the left-hand side, yeah, you got it. Create entity. There you go.
Here.
And you just want to tell it what kind of entity. In this case, it's going to be a contact. We'll create a new contact. And then just to make it interesting, let's do a set entity field value.
Where is it?
See that one? That one's under entity record.
Here.
There you go. Yep. And we'll do that now. Some of the stuff that we'll cover later on in more detail, guys. Here, when you're referencing standard field names, we use API reference. So in this case, it would be PH with a capital P. Yeah, sorry about that. And then office with the capital O, no underscore. So it's the API reference. It's not the database name. It's not the column name. It's the API reference. But we'll get into more of that later. I'll explain what we're doing there and why.
But this is the API reference name, right?
Right. That's right.
Okay.
And then, and by the way, I sent you a list of those in an Excel file in that training class zip, so you've got all of those. And then the field value would just be open curly braces, Annie, closed curly braces. Now, hold down your Shift key and do that. You're good to go. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect, perfect. And then for a single match, when there's just one matching contact record, let's create an entity. And in this time, let's create an incident. Now, by the way, you can have it do whatever you want it to do.
Yeah, but
in this case, I'm just having it create different types of objects, right? I want to test out, make sure it's creating a contact properly, test to make sure it's creating an incident properly.
Right. So here now I can add an entity field value. How can I assign the contact?
That's exactly right. So the way we're doing that is just by associating. When we do the lookup on the contact, we're getting back a contact ID. So the API reference for that is primary contact ID with a capital P, a capital C, and ID are both capital. You got it. Now, the key value pair that we're putting in there, when you do that contact lookup in the previous step, what's happening is that PopFlow is remembering that contact ID in an internal KVP called entity info. So it's open curly braces, entity, yeah, that's okay, entity info, and I is capitalized, so INFO dot uppercase I, lowercase d. Perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
And that will associate the contact, and then if you want to set up a report for multiple matches, you can drag a run report item out onto there, and then we just need the report ID of any search report. Now, one of the reports that I had you import is actually a report that already has a filter identified for the phone number.
Okay, so let me search that report and put the ID.
So you can, if you want to use, if you know you've got one set up already, you could use whatever you wanted to, but this one's just an easy one. And you need the ID, so you'd have to go to select details up in the ribbon.
Detalles.
Oh, don't make me say it. Little to the, just to the right. Carpetas.
No.
Just to the right of that.
Like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then just select ID and do accept.
Perfect. 10004.
So it's 100004. Good.
Yeah.
And then if you edit the criteria, whatever criteria you specify will be sent as filter criteria. So in this case, it's contacts dot any under phone. So contacts dot any, yeah, or I'm sorry, any ANY. There you go.
That's
the name of the filter that I set up, and then you can just pass it the ANY, just like you did in the other search criteria.
perfect. So
Perfecto.
Excellent. Okay.
Good.
So okay.
Yep. Now, before you go much further, I would give this a save. I would save this interaction workflow, and then we'll test it out and make sure that it's working.
Okay. So I save it and execute.
Sí, para que lo vea.
Yep. And then execute, and you can type in whatever you want, whatever caller ID you want associated to it. So what I usually suggest here, Juan, is to start with a caller ID that doesn't exist. Just make one up so that it will create a new contact record, and then you can run the same number through once you've created the contact record, and it should create a new incident off of that contact record. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. It will be great. So a new one, right?
That's right.
My cell phone and yes. Okay, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
Ya, para él.
Okay, do you have a problem here with this? Or maybe that was already in...
Well, you know, that's exactly what happened. That number was already associated to a contact, so it automatically created a new incident. But that's good. We at least know that that logic is working, right? So that did what it's supposed to.
So let me put a new one.
Okay.
Okay.
The trick is getting one that has multiple matches to make sure that it's running the report properly, you know?
Yeah. But I don't think that we have a same number to contact.
Yeah, you can create one, right? Just
Create one. So
and then delete it when you're done.
No.
Now, if it worked properly in the office phone field, it should have populated. It doesn't look like it did. Do me a favor, because what I would expect to see in there is the telephone number that you just. Oh, okay, there it did. It just wasn't showing it, so it popped it.
That's it. Yeah, that's right.
So you could populate any of the fields, and here's what's interesting about PopFlow. When we do that set entity field value that populated the telephone number here, when we do that, when we populate a field, we're not populating the workspace. We're actually populating the field. So even if a field is not displayed on the workspace, you can still populate it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. So no matter if show or not the field, it will still be populated, right?
That's right. That's right.
Perfect. So let's say if I want to know which contacts were made in an inbound call, I
Right.
could mark a custom field with just a number, 1 or 0, to know that, and even if it's not visible here in the workspace, it will still be saving it, right?
That's exactly right. Good example.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So, so let me create a new contact to see if the report is working.
Okay.
Mm, mhm. Okay, I will execute it again. And go. Perfect.
Yeah, good. Excellent.
Mhm. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
So at this point, really, you have now installed your first PopFlow
Yeah.
installation, and you've created your first screen pop. So
Yeah.
what I would say, Juan and Andres, if you guys, if you'll take a look, actually, let me steal control from you for a second.
Okay.
You guys should be seeing my screen now. Yeah?
Yeah, it's loading. And
Eventually.
we're seeing it now.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So in the PopFlow cert training files, zip file that I sent you guys,
Mm-hmm.
there are two key things that I would like for you guys to look through a little bit and play around a little bit with the installation before we meet next, right? So the PopFlow operations guide just gives an overview of what we just went through, the basics of how PopFlow works, and gets you familiar with the designer, right? But more specifically, there is, let me, if I can ever get to it here. I know I'm buzzing through these things quickly. Interaction workflows you've been through. Okay, so on page 15 here, the interaction workflow activities. So if you remember, the activities are all of those things on the left side of the designer that you can do, like retrieve entity, right? So what we did, we created for each of those activities a brief description of what it does, screenshot of it with any kind of required configuration parameters, how to use it, and then we provided some examples, some example use cases for each one, so you can actually kind of follow the screenshots to make sure that everything's working. But it goes through every one of the different activities that same way, right? Describing what it is, how to use it, with some examples, some example use cases.
I see.
And that's for every activity in PopFlow. So between now and our next meeting, if you guys can just look through the different activities, just kind of familiarize yourself with the activities. Along with that, I'll call out one other document that you'll find in there, and actually let me get to it a little differently here so I can go straight to it. let's see, there is a set entity field value. Now that's what we were just doing to populate field. In the set entity field value, it tells you how to reference standard custom and custom fields and custom attributes, right? The standard field is probably the most common method. We populate those in every deployment of PopFlow. And because it is kind of odd the way you're doing that through, I mentioned the API, using the API references, right?
Yeah.
What I provided was an Excel file also included in that zip that is just a summary of some of the most common API references. So for example, you know, I've got the common contacts references. Same thing for incidents, opportunities, organizations, so on and so forth, quotes and tasks, right?
Right.
So that's just there for convenience in case people are not familiar with the API reference or how to find it and things of that nature. I took some of the most common ones and just put them in an Excel file. So you've got that.
Right.
And then the other thing that we'll get into in our next conversation are the solution diagrams. And I'll point out in those solution diagrams, these are both of the open method solutions. So the first page here actually covers Harmony, right?
Yeah.
You've probably seen that one, Juan.
Yeah.
But
I have one place.
yeah. But the same thing for PopFlow. So there's another here for PopFlow that just goes over our basic architecture. We'll cover this in more detail and how the add-ins work and what they're doing in our next session, right? But I just wanted to see, you know, you might want to take a look at that before we talk in case, you know, you guys think of any good questions as we're going through that. You can harass me with them.
Okay.
Cool.
That's perfect.
So at that point, we're about 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Actually, we're really only about 5 minutes ahead of schedule for this call because I wanted to leave about 15 minutes for you guys to ask any questions that you might have and have time to chat about any of that stuff if you like. So any questions so far about any of the stuff we went through?
Okay, well,
Right now, give me just 1 second.
All right.
Mike, I was looking at follow-up. Both of our schedules are good. And would you think the 17th would give them enough time to look through that, Friday the 17th?
Well, it would, Tom, but right now my schedule, until I talk to Mercadani, my schedule is very much in a state of flux because of a couple of competing tasks that I've been assigned. And the 17th, the 16th through the 21st is in question. And, you know, we've got the actual training classes the week of the 21st and the following week, right? So until I talk to Mercadani, it's going to be hard for me to say we've got to figure out some coverage for me for that week before we can commit to a date. But I should be speaking to him later today, so we should be able to get back to the guys with
next steps or next dates?
Yeah, next pretty quickly. Like by the end of the day today, we'll know.
Okay, cool. Because because my question also was, is the 17th too soon? Because we both, again, based on your schedule, the 24th would be an option, and that would give them, close to 2 weeks. But again, maybe that's too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll leave that to the guys. I mean, really, it just depends on how much spare time they have to get in and play around with PopFlow a little bit, and that's strictly, it's not a requirement. Like we could run them again tomorrow if we had to. You know what I mean?
If we had
to, they wouldn't lose out anything. Yeah.
Okay.
but so it's not a, that's kind of open. It's nice, you know, we're doing the web sessions, Tom. It's nice to give folks, you know, a week or so to just play around
digest.
with it. They've got time to actually dig in enough that when we get into actually using activities and building things, it just goes a little faster. So, but you know how that goes, right? Sometimes you've got time to play around with it, and other times not so much.
You don't. Yep.
Excuse me. Uh-oh.
Hello, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have actually, Andres have a question.
Okay.
He's asking the IVR Q value pairs.
Yeah.
Those, do we have to declare them in Harmony to obtain the values here in PopFlow? How does that work?
That's a great question. So there are several requirements, right? When people enter data into the IVR, the IVR has to communicate that data one way or another. Usually the IVR is passing that data to the ACD, right, to the telephony platform. When that happens, very often the telephony platform will report that same data to Harmony, and Harmony reports all data to PopFlow. So if Harmony is receiving the IVR KVP, PopFlow will get it.
Okay.
But
this will be in the...
Well, I was just going to say, keep in mind, it requires that the IVR is passing that data to the ACD as well, right? Like if I'm thinking Genesis and they're using GVP, Genesis Voice Portal, that almost always happens, right? And then we just need to make sure that Genesis is reporting those key value pairs to us via the T-Link, the T-server, to Harmony.
Okay.
And if they're reported to Harmony, Harmony will automatically pass them to PopFlow.
And in PopFlow, we can access to that data using the interaction data, right?
That's exactly right. And the way you can make sure that that's happening, if you, like, and you guys looking at my screen still?
Yeah.
So if I go to my roaming profile, there's an open methods directory, and you guys probably already know this. You know, you're used to seeing the Harmony client. There's a PopFlow, excuse me, there's a PopFlow directory there that contains the PopFlow log. This is on the client workstation. And if I open that, you'll actually see where I receive incoming calls. So for example, you'll see, like here it says, listening for clients on pipe named M. Hensley or whatever. You know, you'll see that the interaction handler is initialized. You'll see it start listening for data, right? And then you'll see when a call comes in, you'll have this, well, hang on, I'm in the wrong spot. Where? That one starts. Oh, you know what I was doing? I was just creating, this one's not going to have it because I wasn't creating any. Let me find a better example for you guys.
Don't worry.
Okay, you know what we'll do? Check this out. More than one way to skin a cat. I'll do a little test and just show you what it actually looks like.
Sure.
So what I'm going to do is set some data, just some fake data, and we'll put it in the subject field of the incident record. So we'll call this like IVR underscore, I don't know, digits, you know, whatever that key value pair is named, right? And then when I execute it, I'll say my caller ID is that, and I've got some IVR data, IVR digits, 11213, right?
Okay.
So I'll show you what all of that looks like in the log. I'll explain it. So here in the details, it didn't say, boy, it's slow. There we go. No, I'm not even showing the field. There it is, IVR digits. It looks like I got something wrong. IVR underscore DIGITS. Oh, digit. I can't spell. Right? 1, 2, 1, 3. Now, what that looks like in the log is this. This is my CEO harassing me. Now, so you see where I've got, I can see that the Annie, the Dinas, these are standard. Here is where I told it call data, IVR digit, and what that value is. So you'll see those, you'll see that call data. See, I've got call data keys throughout the log that tell you what data we're receiving. Now, in a real world, that wouldn't be a set entity field value interaction event. The trace would actually be an interaction handler event. So it would say activity, interaction handler, type, and then it would say voice, Annie, the telephone number, Dinas, you know, whatever other data is available. So if you go to the log and you can actually see all of the data that PopFlow is getting when the call first comes in, and you just have to be sure to use the right KVP name to get to that data.
Right.
Right?
That's it.
And we can go through that. Like some of these just make sense, right? The actual set entity field value I executed was, you know, to put in the subject whatever value was here, or whatever value was here, and it stuck it in there, right?
Yeah, totally.
So if you normally like, and are you guys in that regard when Andreas, you were talking about the IVR data, would that be in a Genesis environment that you were referring to by chance?
Well, one of our clients might be a Genesis.
Yeah.
The one might be an Avaya.
Okay.
Cisco, Hawaii.
And you guys,
Avaya Aura. It will be Cisco.
Cisco, yeah. So you know that you guys know every telephony platform is a little bit different, right? Genesis is usually an easy conversation about IVR data because of Genesis Voice Portal. If they're using the Genesis IVR, it almost always passes IVR data through the T server, and Harmony sees it, right? In Cisco, or a VIA, that may be different. You know, depending on what IVR the customer's using, sometimes the IVR will pass data to the ACD, and sometimes it will not.
I see.
Right. So in that case, we usually, if the IVR is not already passing data to the ACD, you may have to ask the customer to configure it to do so. Right. If they can't for some reason, like some IVRs are just not capable of passing data like that because they don't have a digital connection to the ACD, you may want to pass data from the IVR directly into a PopFlow listener. But that gets kind of complicated. But there's usually more than one way to get data out of the IVR.
But if you connect the IVR with a PopFlow listener, we have to do that using Harmony, I guess, right?
Well, Harmony is usually the best way to do it, yes. Harmony is usually the best way to do it because if you think about it, the IVR might know what buttons I pressed while I was in the IVR. They have the data, right, that we want. The ACD then routes the customer to some agent, right? The IVR at that point may not know what agent received that call. So the IVR may not know what agent to send that data to, because keep in mind, PopFlow listeners are actually running on the agent console at the agent workstation, right? Listeners run as a part of Service Cloud. So unless the IVR knows which agent is sending them that or is receiving that call, it wouldn't necessarily know who to send the data about that call to. And that's why getting it through the ACD into Harmony is usually the best method, right? Because Harmony knows where each agent is, how they're logged in, and how to send data to their specific Service Cloud console. So if it knows a call just came in from an IVR and it says, oh, and here's some attached call data from the IVR about that call, it's sending both of them, all of that data and the call to that particular agent, right? You don't have to make that link.
I know. I understand it.
So, getting data out of the IVR is, unless it's something where it, the IVR data is passed through the ACD, it's usually a conversation we end up having to have with customers about how to get data out of the IVR and what to do with it once we do, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So yeah, that can be tricky. That's pretty easy. Usually that's pretty easy in a Genesis world or like even a Cisco world. Like most Cisco customers, especially if they're using a Cisco, specific IVR. In other words, most IVR platforms that are certified in a Cisco environment, they will typically pass data like that inherently, just natively. So we get it from Cisco, like we get all of that attached data into Harmony from Cisco. A VIA is a little different, right? A VIA, depending on what IVR they're using, they may be able to pass data into the ACD, they may not.
Yeah, I see.
Sí, es que recuerdo de la versión de la Valle.
Vale.
Es que Valle tiene varias ideas, pero no es que está el Genesis, está GD del 2010 o 2006, es lo mismo. Pero ellos tienen a Valle versionándolos. La versión en cada uno es diferente. Vale. Por eso dice, para Genesis es mucho más fácil.
Sí.
Yo ya tiene la experiencia y va a cambiar los últimos 10 años. Claro. Entonces, la data es la misma por los años. Entonces, de acuerdo a la versión de la valla, te hace toda la fórmula de base.
Ya, perfecto. Ok, Mike. ¿Alguna pregunta?
Yo no tengo ninguna pregunta. No. Tengo más preguntas, pero de otro producto. Sí, solo por PopFlow. ¿Puedes vernos de alguna acción por cada ejemplo? Crear incidente y mandar otra, crear otra.
Yeah, Mike, we have another question.
Okay.
When you start the flow in PopFlow, right?
Yep.
And you have three possible options, right? Single match, multiple match, and no match.
Right.
In each one of those, can you create more than one action attached to that option? I mean, can I, for
Absolutely.
example, yeah? Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Give me the example, and I'll do it for you.
if there is no match, create a contact and send an email, or I don't know, create an
Se crea un email que informando que se crea un contacto.
Sequence. I see.
I'm just sticking things in there. Not that it makes any kind of sense to do that, but you guys get the idea. We have this concept of a sequence, which is do a bunch of things, many things. Now, it's worth it. You guys are already, because you guys are a little familiar with what we're doing already anyway, you guys are going a little further. But when we say things like create entity and we tell it a contact, what we're really doing, when we say create new contact, we're going to the agent's profile. And let me get one here that'll make sense. We're going to the agent's profile. And we are basically going, like when we say create new contact, we're going to the profile, to the workspace definition, and saying create new whatever is here. So in this case, my contact is actually a workflow, not a workspace. So it's going to create a new workflow, contact workflow event. That's what's going to get launched. Right? So if that's a script, it will launch the script. If it's a workspace, it'll launch the workspace. If it's a workflow, it'll launch the workflow.
Okay.
Same thing for incidents, right? But the answer to your question is still the same. You can do multiple things.
Yeah.
Now, the example that you gave, Juan, was you said, I don't know, send an email, right, or whatever. What I would do in that case is probably not, like, it's part of workspace automation. So I can do things like raise a named event, if I can find it. Now, that named event that fires might trigger my workspace automation or my workflow to send an email, right?
Right.
But we become the trigger for that. So you can actually have, for example, you can have workspace automation that's not triggered by workflow or the editor opening. It can be triggered by us sending that event. Now my example of that, if you look, matter of fact, I'm doing a little of this. I'm on our demo system here, and in our demo system, the way I've set this thing up to screen pop, I've got workspaces and workflows defined. Demo 2, and my incident workspace is just an incident workspace. But if you look, what I did, I automated it so that if it's a service call, it will show service. If it's an order call, it will show order. If it's an order call, it shows the order tab. If it's a service call, it shows the service request tab, right? And the way that I get it to pop, I'm always calling my incident workspace. I'm always popping my incident workspace, but I'm popping with it attached call data that is call type equal order. And at the end of that series, I'll raise a named event that says order, and that triggers my workspace rule, right, to hide all of these things that I don't want to see, right? So when the editor loads, OM call type equals service, then hide the orders tab and focus service on, or focus a tab on service.
Great.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do things like that. So I'm using named events in this workspace that PopFlow fired. Right? It was actually, and let's see, I'll show you what it looks like. This is our demo workflow that just basically says, you know, if call type equals, where is it? If, hang on, that's not it. Call type equals outbound. I have it doing some interesting things. If there's an existing incident number, pop the incident. And here we are. It gets down to do a lookup of the contact based on caller ID. If you find a single match, look at the call type. If it's order, create a new incident, associate it to the contact.
Right.
Populate order in this custom field, set the category, set the product ID. I don't even know what that is, customer ID. Set the customer ID. I'm just populating fields, right? And at the end of it, I say, and raise a named event called order that triggers my workspace automation.
Okay.
Right?
Oh,
So you can do
nice.
stuff like that. So we become kind of a trigger for workspace automation, or more intelligence for workflows, right? I can do the same kind of thing. I can raise named events for workflows. I can pass data into workspaces that workflows use.
Eso por reporte estoy pensando.
Because we control la reportería en realidad.
Sí.
Eso es material right now.
Ah,
I have just one more question regarding the custom fields field name. As I see now, the custom fields are using, well, custom field dot c dot the number. Is that the custom field ID?
Yeah, so really I can use in PopFlow, in the latest version of PopFlow, now in this one I could only use the number, but in the latest version of PopFlow I can use the name of the custom field, the column name, so I could do custom fields.c dot, you know, order underscore number or whatever, RUT. Right?
Oh, okay.
But in this one it's the name that, or I mean the ID of the custom field that we're using.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I had that question. I didn't know what that number means. So
Yeah,
it's the
what it
ID.
is, it's just like if I want to populate this organization tier, the ID is 40, so it'd be customfields.c.40 would let me pop something into there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I don't have any more questions, Andres. Neither Andres. I'm guessing that after, for the second webinar, we will have a lot of questions.
Yes.
Now we will be testing the demo, right? And be sure that we will have a large number of